Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving straight into a strategic audit of one of the most fascinating mechanisms of modern human organization, the mixed economy. If you look around at the world's major economic powers, you'll quickly realize that almost none of them are running on pure, unadulterated systems. Instead, they operate on a massive compromise. But before we reveal the nuts and bolts of this pragmatic hybrid solution, we absolutely need to understand the extreme economic options that forced its invention in the first place.
Okay, let's dive into this. On one side of the spectrum, we've got pure capitalism. Now, this is a system driven entirely by the profit motive, private property, and absolute free enterprise. It's an engine that runs fast, for sure, but it has a seriously toxic extreme, raw, unchecked freedom that can easily lead to massive inequality and ruthless monopolies. Now, flip to the total opposite side, and we have pure socialism. Here, the focus is strictly on social welfare, total state control, and rigid economic planning. Sure, it guarantees equality, but often at the cost of crippling inefficiency and a complete lack of individual incentive. For the longest time, nations actually thought they had to choose between these two rigid absolutes.
Section 1. The hybrid engine concept.
So, what exactly is this compromise? Well, to put it simply, a mixed economy is an economy which combines the elements of both the capitalist and the socialist economies. Think of it like a hybrid engine in a high-performance vehicle. It's specifically designed to harness the raw, explosive market power of capitalism, that profit motive and relentless drive for innovation, while simultaneously using the state as a necessary braking and steering system. This ensures the vehicle doesn't just crash into severe inequality or economic instability. It really is the ultimate, real-world compromise.
Moving right along to Section 2. Triumphs. Best of both.
When this hybrid engine operates efficiently, it literally achieves some incredible milestones. Step 1 on our progress tracker is proper allocation. Through central planning, resources are appropriately divided between the public and private sectors, which ensures optimal use. Step 2 is economic stability. By using state regulation to balance things out, the system avoids the raw shortages, the overproduction, and those vicious cyclical market fluctuations that really plague pure capitalism. And Step 3, checking toxic side effects. It retains the powerful incentives of the market, like private property and competition, but it keeps their adverse, exploitative tendencies firmly under government check.
Section 3. Triumphs. Growth with justice.
So, the crucial point is how these two forces interact to create growth alongside justice. On the one side, we have market energies. The mixed economy unleashes the private sector to drive incredibly fast economic development through the profit motive and private initiative. But right alongside it, we have state actions. The government steps in to curb monopolistic control and scale down income inequality using heavy tools like progressive taxation. It uses the combined resources of both sectors to ensure that rapid economic development is actually achieved with social justice. And it manages all this while preserving the economic and political freedoms of the individual. Honestly, it's a brilliant balancing act when it works.
Section 4. Roadblocks, public-private friction. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the structural, systemic failure that can occur when these two distinct gears start grinding against one another. You have the private sector, hyper-focused on efficiency and the profit motive, forced to operate right alongside a public sector that's focused on social welfare and, well, governed by heavy bureaucracy. This creates massive sector friction. According to the source material, a serious shortcoming is that collision, bitterness, and total non-cooperation can suddenly break out between the two. In a climate of mutual mistrust, the sectors just stop complementing each other, and the entire economic engine completely stalls out.
And this friction leads directly to a very real existential threat: the short-lived nature of the system. Just imagine a timeline. In Decade 1, you might have a perfectly balanced hybrid economy. It's humming along nicely. But by Decade 5, human nature and institutional ambition take over. Each sector constantly attempts to expand at the cost of the other. It's like they're trying to cannibalize each other. If the state keeps expanding and taking over private industries, by Decade 10, you might slide entirely into a pure socialist economy. Conversely, if the private sector becomes utterly dominant and dismantles state regulations, bam, you revert back into a pure capitalist economy. It requires constant, exhausting maintenance to prevent it from tearing itself apart.
Which brings us to Section 5. Roadblocks, the bureaucratic trap.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how the brakes can end up destroying the engine. To regulate the private sector, the government naturally relies on controls. But, as we know, this easily spirals into excessive regulations. We start seeing heavy licensing systems, complex monetary rules, and massive, irksome red tapeism. Instead of just steering the private sector away from monopolies, these excessive controls become incredibly inconvenient and end up paralyzing private efficiency altogether. I mean, market forces just can't do their job if they're completely wrapped up in endless bureaucratic tape.
To make this super concrete, let's look at a direct citation from our source text regarding the public sector's track record. It states, quote, "The public sector suffers from losses, inertia, inefficiency, and red tapeism. The experience of the Indian economy bears testimony of this fact." End quote. So this isn't just theory, right? It's a stark historical reality. While the public sector is designed to be this stabilizing force providing social justice, its actual real-world performance often introduces a massive drag on the economy through sheer inertia and chronic financial losses.
Section 6. The final strategic verdict.
So, we've seen the impressive triumphs of the mixed economy, its incredible ability to harness market efficiency while actively avoiding the toxic pitfalls of both pure capitalism and pure socialism. But we've also audited its severe roadblocks, from that paralyzing red tape to the bitter systemic friction between public and private interests. The system is, undeniably, a pragmatic masterpiece of economic compromise. But as we wrap up this brief, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought regarding its inherent instability. Can a hybrid engine really run forever, perfectly balanced, or is it always destined to eventually tear itself apart and revert to an extreme? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I hope this gives you a sharp new lens through which to view the global economies operating all around us today.